I'll be going through the camera quadrant of the Leica S2's menu system. On the back of the Leica S2, around the 3-inch screen, you'll notice 4 soft touch keys that give you access to the camera's quadrant-based menu system. By clicking the upper left button, you can see the 4 quadrants you have available. We'll now discuss the camera quadrant. If you notice, there are symbols that give you a visual indication of the settings you've changed and the settings you haven't changed. By clicking on the upper left button again, we're brought to the camera menu. If you notice, if I click again, it will scroll through the 2 pages of options within the camera menu. To access any one of these options, simply navigate using the multi-selector wheel. When you're ready to change something, click in, and you can change something. To exit, upper right button will bring you back to the main menu. First option, drive mode. To change your drive mode, click the wheel, and it brings you access to single, 1.5 frames per second continuous shooting, a 2-second, and a 12-second self-timer. It's important to remember that the self-timer has a built-in mirror lockup, a really convenient feature. When you're ready and you made your selection, click the scroll wheel, and you're brought back to the main menu. Your next option, focus mode. Focus mode goes from single autofocus, continuous autofocus, and manual focus. When you select manual focus, the rear button on the back of the camera becomes your focus button. Next, exposure metering. To change your exposure metering, you can go from spot metering, sensor-weighted metering, or evaluative multi-field metering. Once you've made your selection, click the scroll wheel, and you're good to go. Exposure compensation gives you 3 stops under or overexposed. Once you've made your selection here, let's say 1 stop, click the scroll wheel, and it tells you in the menu what you've changed. This is also available in the viewfinder. Next, exposure bracketing. The Leica S2 gives you 3 or 5 frames up to 12 stops of exposure bracketing. To change your frame number, simply turn the wheel. To change your number of stops, turn the wheel again. You'll notice you have up to 12 stops, and it even tells you what your exposure compensation was set at. When you've got the selection you want, click the wheel, ready to go. On the next page, you'll find Auto Slow Sync. What this does is when you're using a flash in program mode, it tells the camera the slowest sync speed to use with a flash. In this case, 1/f means 1/4 focal length. So it will give you 1/, whatever the focal length of the lens you're using is. If you're using a 70mm lens, it'll give you a shutter speed of 1/70th of a second. Flash sync mode, traditionally known as first curtain or last curtain flash sync, fires the flash at either the start of the exposure or the end of the exposure. Again, once you've made your selection, click in, back to the main menu. Mirror up mode gives you a mirror lockup. Now again, when using the self-timer, it has mirror lockup built in, but if you're using a cable release and you want to precisely control when the shutter is fired, activate mirror lockup. Once you're done setting the camera settings, click your exit button. It'll bring you back to your main 4-quadrant view. You can see here within the camera quadrant are symbols of some of the things I've changed, like drive mode, autofocus mode, exposure metering mode, mirror lockup, flash curtain sync, exposure compensation, and bracketing. When you're ready to shoot, simply half press the shutter and everything goes away.